G'day guys, Toast20 here and welcome back to Springfield. In the last episode, I mentioned we'll be diving into some more Springfield episodes over the next month, and if that's something you are keen for, looking forward to, then rating up the video or leaving some feedback down below is a great way to keep this series alive, or any of my series alive. I pretty much release these videos based off feedback, and if I can see traction still going, then I keep going with these episodes. And something else I never really mentioned, but sharing the video is way more powerful than I ever expected. I saw a massive increase in views very randomly a couple of months ago, and then a couple of people mentioned that they saw that this series was shared in a Simpsons subreddit. But, you know, it's just something that I never mention. I never say share a video. I always say like, always say subscribe, never say share. So that's your 4-yearly reminder to every now and again share a video. But anyway, that's enough of the classic YouTuber self-promotion. Let's get into what we are building in today's episode, which is very much sticking with the Duff related theme that we seem to be doing over the last couple of episodes. We're building the Duff Stadium, and this is opposite the Duff Brewery. This has very much become the Duff area of Springfield. We've got the Duff Brewery, now we've got the Duff Stadium, and this Duff Stadium is just one of those classic areas within Springfield, within The Simpsons, that seems to just change every episode. So I pretty much just have to choose one shot that I think is the most accurate or the best looking version of it, because there are some pretty ugly versions, particularly one of the oldest episodes I can even think of watching from The Simpsons is all about Duff Stadium. And I'm pretty sure it's not even called Duff Stadium in that episode. So that version I'm not really using too much of, but I am using this one where Homer goes on a hunger strike, and that's like probably one of the better versions I can probably use, and there's actually lots of great reference shots for that version.
I'm so hungry.
His tummy sounds angry, Daddy.
Yeah, that's his stomach eating itself.
But like I said, we're going to be splicing a couple more versions within this one that we're going to be creating today. And to kick things off, I've placed down this super old asset that's been on the workshop for many years. I think I might have used it in Springwood, one of my oldest series, and here it is again in Springfield. And what I've just done is I've changed it up a little bit. So I've first turned it into a procedural object so that I can modify the walls a little bit, and then I've also created my own wall to go around this outer edge where the main entrance is going to be, just based off this one episode where it seems to be a wall like this. Kind of gives a bit more freedom, and it was pretty tricky, I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of footage you're not seeing of me just trying to get this thing up and running, working the way it should, but it's an absolute pain. So you're not seeing a lot of footage that I decided just to get rid of, and some random truck just flying in the air over there for some reason. But I thought was a fun touch was the office that Duffman is thrusting his hips out of.
Duffman is thrusting in the direction of the problem.
So I plopped that right out the front of the main entrance, and we've got these awesome signs that Bad Peanut did for me a couple of months ago now. So I've been holding on to them for a while. So shout outs to Bad Peanut, who's created a bunch of assets now for this series. And these are great. He's created 3 different stadium signs, and he just said, look, pick whichever one you want to use. So I've decided to do 2 massive ones on the side, probably a little overboard, but I just did it anyway. Let me know if it's too much. It's kind of fun, you know, it's a bit comical. I don't know, I kind of like it. And then we've got this classic one on the top from, there's more episodes with that little classic one on the top. And there's one other one that he created for me that I haven't used, but it's just as cool as all the others. But yeah, the main structure of the building is pretty much done. I will add some extra details around it, like some other entrances and some doorways leading into some cargo facilities. But now it's time to work on the parking lot. I've decided to use this other parking lot road, which Prez mentioned this a little while ago, but just has not received quite enough attention. I think people have been a little bit afraid to use it, but it's... And I have to be honest, I was a little afraid to use it. I think it's because we've been using other parking lot roads that have been just super killer. They've been awesome. But these ones are really great because they give you a little bit more flexibility with the types of parking lots you can create. And I've decided to download them, and this is my first crack at it. So there's a little bit of like weirdness with some of the angles, but I'll tell you what, you can really create some very cool looking parking lots using these. And I will leave a link to them in the description below, but you can also find them. The creator of this is Hockenheim95. Highly recommend it. I wish I downloaded them much earlier on. Now we're starting to work on the roundabout section. This is where Homer sets up his first area of protest, and like you'll see, I'll start working on his little site very shortly. But yeah, we definitely needed to have this little turning circle. I don't know if I've got the, like, I always seem to get the turning circle completely wrong. So if cars are driving in the wrong direction, it's like just classic. It's a classic move by me. You have to get used to it. But yes, you can see I've now placed down Homer's hunger strike area where he does some dances. He does some grumbling of the stomach. I think he insults Milhouse's dad and Milhouse.
What a great ball game. Thanks, Weekend Dad.
Stop calling me that.
And a couple of little areas for the entrance. I will go back down there and detail it up just a little bit more. But you will see a bit of an overarching theme for this episode. I know we've already got a bit of a Duff theme going on, but just as a little extra theme, we're kind of going a little less detail than usual just because I did want to build a fairly big chunk in this episode. So we're actually going to build probably one of the largest areas that I've ever built. So you went to see the cinematics. We've got like a huge amount of area established and built. But a lot of it's going to be filler. A lot of it's just like a suburb and a couple of other facilities that we desperately needed within the city. And some infrastructure too that we really did need just to get a bit of flow happening because we were starting to get some serious traffic going on. But yeah, you know, sometimes you just got to do a bit of filler because you can't detail everything because otherwise you will just be detailing for forever. You will just never have a city completed, and also it's just not great for the frame rate, so you just need to make that call every now and again. So apart from the stadium, a lot of everything else that I build is yeah, on the less detailed side of things. But you probably also noticed that I placed down a little cube inside the stadium. That little cube is a baseball stadium from the campus DLC, and I've got like a whole bunch of these just awesome little cubes that I can place down within these buildings that I end up changing into procedural objects. I much prefer to see a bit of functionality within my cities. I still really enjoy that side of things. Even though we might not be trying to make a profit, it's still nice to see that the city is moving and just interacting the way that it should. And if anything, I feel like these, like using mods and using custom assets and all that, not only does it make your city look more realistic, and you know, you might be going from like playing the game, and I'm using air quotes, playing the game, to placing down buildings and just like using this as a 3D model simulator, whatever we like to call it. But yes, a lot of people say that, oh, you're kind of like taken away from the game because you're just using all these mods. But if anything, I feel like mods enhance the gameplay elements of it. And I think there's a really nice balance between using lots of mods and creating your own version of Cities Skylines, where you still have the challenges of trying to get nice traffic flow and trying to make sure that everything is, all the demands are met. I do like to try and set myself a goal of at least trying to make some sort of profit within my cities, but I don't know if there's an absolute priority for that in this series. I think in this series it's just more trying to make sure that we able to capture all the important parts of Springfield of The Simpsons. And what I'm doing right now is so ridiculous, but I noticed just in like one frame of that Hunger Strike episode, I can see just like the scoreboard, and then as soon as I saw it, I was like, alright, I've got to try and make it. So I'm using procedural objects once again. They're absolute lifesaver of this series, and I'm just making my own version of it, which it's pretty close to what I can see on that episode. Couple of differences. This is kind of like the best I can make it. It is like a touch different, but whatever. It's pretty close. I think it's pretty ridiculous in the first place that we can even do things like this. I mean, it's pretty cool. I don't know. It kind of works. You can also see where Homer was placed within the stadium. A bit of a sneaky move by the owners of the stadium, but yeah, there's this little spot down there.
I'm down to a B cup.
And we got this little grassy patch. If only we could have placed some like giant cans of Duff. I think that would have been a really nice touch, but you know, maybe if anybody would like to create them for me, I would absolutely love that. And by the way, I'm still totally after asset creators who are interested in creating some other areas. I would like to start working on some of the really nice wealthy areas of Springfield, but I think I will spend maybe one more episode on this side of the river, just get a little bit more established around this side, seeing as we're kind of in the mindset of this this part of town, and then we'll move over to there, which I'm planning to place like the really nice part of Springfield, probably underneath the Springfield sign. Big mansions, Mayor Quimby's house, we'll do Troy McClaw's house. There's a golf course out that way too. I'm pretty excited for that part of town. But you can see that I've also placed a bus line to go around this area, so we can start seeing a little bit more of a bustling transport system, which we're starting to get. I mean, we've got the monorail that stretches throughout the downtown, and we do have a train line for heavy rail coming in, and now, yeah, I think the bus line's getting pretty good too. So we've got a little bus line that goes out that way, and now out this way we've got a Krusty Burger. I've just copied the Krusty Burger that I built a little while ago and just used that as my base to put it on this little corner. A bit tricky on this corner, but I think it's, you know, it looks original enough so that it doesn't just look like I've completely copied that version over, even though I have changed it a little bit, made a slightly larger car park, and yeah, just put it over here. Because I figured Krusty Burger's a chain, we've got to have some other Krusty Burgers around. I figured this would probably be a very reasonable location for a Krusty Burger, seeing as we've got the stadium out this way and it's a fairly main road. Bit industrial, I feel like there'd be a lot of people that would go to this Krusty Burger. It's kind of nice seeing it spread in different locations. This is our third store. We've got the other store underneath the main monorail station. So yeah, it's kind of cool that we've got a couple around. Now we're starting to get to the part of the episode where we're doing some very minor detailed areas. So don't expect a huge amount of detail, but this might give you some inspiration or some ideas of how to build some less detailed places of your city. And I highly recommend doing things this way. Don't have the expectation of building a highly detailed city everywhere, like you can only do that in certain locations. And I recommend doing high detail in the most important parts. So for this series, I only do detail on the main Simpson areas, or like the parts of Springfield that I really want to capture. And then for the other areas like industry and, you know, suburbs that aren't important, I'll just do some very minor detail work. And that way you can build a city fairly quickly, well, at least faster than you would if you were to try and make everything look super realistic. And you're also going to see a much better, more improved frame rate, because I think people start cities and you have just a super smooth frame rate and they go, oh great, so I'm just going to detail everything up and it's just going to be super sweet because the frame rate's great. And then the frame rate decreases like crazy, you know, as soon as you start adding in too much. And then people get discouraged and they start again, which is what I would do if I didn't have a YouTube channel with people pretty committed to watching more episodes. Because before my YouTube channel, and just very quickly on this, before my channel, I would start a city and work on it for a month or two, and then I'd just start again. Because I'd either get annoyed at the frame rate, or I would get annoyed at some decisions I've made. But I tell you what, having a channel, having series where people are keen to watch and see how it changes, I'm pretty committed to sticking with it. So you just sort of, you move past it, you just go, whatever, just keep on going, it doesn't matter, it's not a big deal. You know, you can change things as you go. And yeah, it's pretty helpful for trying to stay consistent and staying to a city as much as possible. Now we're doing some infrastructure around here. We definitely needed some sort of ramp that was going onto the highway. Seeing as we're going to get a lot of traffic around here, you can actually already see a lot of people going to the stadium. We've got a match on at the moment, and yeah, there's a lot of people here, and they've had to use a lot of the other highway exit ramps, which just ages away. So I feel like this is some pretty important infrastructure around here. And plus, we're going to have some suburbs and a park. So I did think that we needed to include a little bit more accessibility for people who live around here. But this whole suburb, when we ended up building it out, it's like there's not much to it. It's pretty much just a little town, little suburb that's just going to break the distance between the nuclear power plant and the rest of the city. Over on the waterfront, I decided that a little park would be nice because we're lacking in the parks in Springfield, and I did want the land value around here to be fairly nice. Like, it's a nice part of town. I know we do have a bit of industry along that main road a little bit further up, but I think that around this area, particularly around the waterfront, you've got some really nice looking areas. Close to the downtown, you've got the national park, which is really close, I plan to build that at some stage. But it's just probably one of the nicest parts of town, yeah, in my opinion. But I'm keeping it pretty basic. Something that I do for parks is because these parks, they're mostly introduced species of trees, and we've also got like a mix of the native trees that would be around here. I try to select a lot of different types of foliage so that you can see that a lot of trees have been introduced. They've planted a lot of these non-native trees. The native trees in Springfield are these pine trees, and I do the same technique when I build suburbs, so that you can actually really see from a distance the difference between the natural environment and environments that hasn't really been worked on, hasn't really been developed too much, and then where suburbs are. And I think it just adds a lot particularly like from a distance. And now we are working on this suburb. Like I said, it's so low detail. I'm really just placing down these houses that are very similar. We're going for pretty modern type of neighborhood out this way. I think quite upper class. We have windy roads, which is a little bit more common, the type of roads you'd usually find in outer skirt type of cities and towns. This is a very modern way of building suburbs. And again, similar to the foliage, using different types of foliage, I think it's you can really tell the difference between different styles of city planning, particularly from a distance. You look at the city and you've got very grid-like road layout in the middle of the city, and then you look further out and the road pattern changes, and I just think it's kind of like a nice touch. It's very different. And now I'm watching the traffic flow, seeing if it's all flowing the way it should be. I think we've just finished a game at the stadium, so yeah, you can actually see a lot of people like coming in and out. I expected to see more people using these parking spaces, but I think that our population is still probably somewhat too small to see as many cars as I would imagine. We actually don't have that huge amount of population in Springfield, so that's why we're going to focus on expanding out these suburbs over the next couple of episodes. But you can see a lot of people using public transport, which is pretty fun. Now we're back working on the suburbs, and I wanted to include a park because they take up a nice amount of space. I wanted to show that the land value out this way is higher than it would be closer to the city, and I thought this would be a good use of space. So we're building a baseball field, a couple of them. This type of layout is a little bit more common in America. We don't really, I could be wrong, but this, baseball isn't as big in Australia as it is in America. So yeah, I had to go on Google Earth and get some inspiration for this one. But it's, yeah, these baseball fields are pretty damn nice. And I just put them in this sort of layout, which is something that I noticed quite a lot on Google Earth. And as you can see, we're keeping the park fairly large because I'm trying to fill a lot of space. You're going to see in the cinematics, they're coming up, but there's a lot of space occupied out this way. And we're mostly just filling out these suburbs. And I'm trying to think as well, like what this suburb would be called. Because I have mapped out a lot of the suburbs within Springfield already, based on the Simpsons wiki page. There's a fandom page that is just super useful for working on the series. But yeah, I don't really know what suburb this would be. So if you have any ideas, I don't know. I don't know if anyone's going to be able to help me with that. That might be something I need to work on. But to finish off the episode, we needed a water pumping station. So here's one out near the nuclear power plant, out where all the industry is. Figured this would be the best space for it. But guys, that is pretty much it for today's episode. Next week, or at least next episode, we're going to be doing some stuff out this way. And I think I might place down something that has been very long requested by you guys. something near the train line, something restaurant related. I'll let you figure that one out. But yeah, look forward to it. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And, you know, maybe in that episode I'm going to announce something that I've been chipping away at for a little while. It might be ready by then, it might not be, but it's going to be pretty fun. I think you're going to enjoy it, and I hope I should get it all finalized by then. But we'll see what happens. Either way, it's on the way. I do want to give a special shout out before I head off to my beloved patrons who are supporting the channel, help me keep a regular schedule. Ben Redfern, Xavier Chung, Jacob Iverson, Gator the God, Samuel Liu, Michael, Christian Nyes, and Mike and McFarlane. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!